Hey guys, this is Carlos Handel again, your realtor, South Carolina and beyond, and I'm here with Lee Lienhardt today.
Hello.
Lee, I'll let him introduce himself as well, but just gonna say a little bit about him. So Lee is kind of a big mentor for me. He owns also a few, actually, 19 RE/MAX offices across South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee. I work out of his offices as well, and I'll just let him. We'll talk about investment today. Have you done any investment properties, Lee?
Oh, that is an addiction of mine. I do. I have been in real estate for now 33 years and have enjoyed every day of it. It is a tough field to be in. And I always used to say that real estate itself, in sales, and Carlos has been a very good student of this, sales pay the bills. Where you're going to find wealth and where you're going to experience wealth, especially as you age as I have in the business, is owning it. I know there are different philosophies, flipping properties and all that stuff. That's certainly a category that you can do. I believe that true wealth comes from buying, yes, fixing it up, and then renting it. I love rental properties, be it long-term or vacation, which I know you've dabbled.
Yeah, short-term rentals or B&B.
Yeah. So those are things that I looked at. I did the VRBOs, or they call them verbos now, they've all changed it, but when literally there were 30 in the marketplace. So I was one of the few that they laughed at when we did it. You would go to the bank and they're going, we've never even heard of vacation rentals. How are we going to cost that out? Now, it's changed now.
Okay.
Now you go in there and there's a number of them. I mean, probably 300.
So how do you get the money for it? Because I mean, it's easy when you have the money, but how do you, did you start it from zero? Did you have
I started from zero.
Okay.
Here's the way you have to, it's very difficult to no money down. I never really did that theory. Maybe I'm too old school for that. What I did personally, and it worked very well for me, is I would get a home equity loan on my property. Okay. That's how I started. Banks at the time would not give money to investors. They didn't love investors. They didn't understand real estate investment. It was too risky. So when I started, I guess I started at 30. So I started probably about 25 years ago, is what I would do. And back then you could find some owner financing. I don't think you find it anymore. But I would start with an equity line. I would try to pay cash for them, or at least get my down money from a bank. But let's say you have enough to pay cash. You don't need to go out buying huge investments to start. Start with the little stuff, okay? So I would invest, take my home equity line, which drove my wife nuts in the beginning. Then I would fix them up. And I would fix them up not cheap, because if you're gonna keep properties, you're gonna pay the price eventually.
So you gotta do it right.
Well, yeah. It was like the other day I had one die on a big place, and the guy said, hey, for $3,000 we can do this, this, and this. And I'm like, nah, man, it's just not going to work. I'm going to have to revisit it. I want to keep this property. So it went from 3,000 to 10,000. It stunk. But it was the right way to go. And now I will not have that problem again. I've watched investors go and they put a little Band-Aid on it, and then it gets worse. And then a little Band-Aid, and then that goes worse. So do it right. I go in. I typically will replumb if necessary. I will rewire if necessary. A lot of the older houses, they have the old fuse boxes. I'll put new, I'll redo that. So be smart about it. Then what I do is once they're up and running and I get a good tenant in there, I go back to the bank and refinance. So I get my money back. I cash out refi. So what I have in it, literally, I get the money back. So I start from zero. I don't necessarily want to take a profit from that, but I want my money back.
And then you use that money, I'm assuming,
I do
to buy something else.
Yeah. And then you got extra money, so you can use, you're right, the leftover if you want to do it. Or you go back and you replenished your
equity line.
Your equity line, and you start it again.
Oh, that's cool. So then you actually keep the money from the refi for another
You can do it, or you can leave it in there. Because you can farm that as you get older and as that property gains equity, which a lot of mine have now.
So about how many properties have you bought?
I have 60 doors right now.
60. Okay.
60. So I don't know, that equates probably to 20 something properties residentially.
Yes, because some of them are multi-door. Like
And I encourage that. If you want to look at, I know we've talked about it. I love multifamily. Love it. Duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes. Your risk is lessened. Your exposure. If somebody walks the heck out or skips out, which we've all had, because I do a lot of long term. It hurts, but it's not you're not gonna not make your mortgage payment. So I like the cash flow avenue of that. The other thing is too, single families are nice.
Yeah.
You have to, and this is what I want, and we've talked about this. You have to cash flow.
You do.
If you're not cash flowing from when you get it done, don't buy it. I don't care. I don't care if you're making $50 a month, that's still making $50. There is going to be maintenance regardless of what you're doing. Okay? So even though you're going to do a bang up job and a great job fixing it up, you got to have some money coming in. Okay? And I had people that come up to me, and once they know you buy, they start approaching you. Hey, I got a deal for you. I got a deal. Not every deal's a deal. Get with Carlos and figure out a deal. Because they go, oh yeah, I could be asking this for it. Let me tell you, what the rent is what you figure.
Yes.
Okay? Don't say, hypothetically, I can change this into a vacation rental and I can make all this. Yes, you may, but you may not.
But you may not.
You've got to cover it. And I tell people, if you can figure out, if you can make it cash flow individually for long term,
okay,
and you decide to go into vacation, that's gravy.
Okay.
Okay, that's more money than you would have made. And you can. You should figure, the rule was 2 times, it's almost 3 times now, that you're going to make at least 2 to 3 times what you're going to make on a regular long-term rental. If you don't, that's not a great
Then just do long-term.
Just do long-term and be done.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important to look at what you can do there. So that's the way I look at mine. It's very old-fashioned.
Okay.
Learn your cap rates, and Carlos can help you with that. But make sure, like my cap rate, I'm either going to make 10% off a property or I'm not going to buy it.
Okay.
Minimum of 10%.
Okay.
Okay.
So when is it a good time to think like I'm holding on to this property versus, like I have $150,000 equity. Let me sell the property.
Okay. All right. That's a great question. And I just did some of this. Here's what, especially like what Carlos is doing. If you got $100,000, $150,000 in equity, okay? What I would do is I would consider selling that.
Okay.
If I could find less. But what I would do is a 1031 tax deferred exchange.
Okay.
Okay. So what I would do is I would take that one property and I would split it into 2. Okay. And by doing that, you're taking 75 grand profit, 75 grand, and you're starting, now you've got 2 net cash flows.
So I sell one property,
Yep.
make $150,000 profit, right? So I don't have to buy just to be able to do 1031 exchange, which is so you don't have to pay capital gain taxes. I don't have to just buy one property. I can buy 2 properties with that money, or 3.
50, 50, 50.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a great way to
that's
think.
the way you build wealth quickly. Okay. So now, instead of 1 door, you got 3 doors.
You got 3 doors. Oh, okay.
So that's the way you build. Because if you go 1 to 1, you really didn't add anything to it. But you go 2 or 3, and that's something you're going to have to find a financial, and it's usually a commercial loan. I don't deal with a lot of residential because I think after 4 it becomes commercial.
It becomes commercial.
Yeah.
Which not everybody does. So
no, but get a relationship. Yeah. I remember when I walked in the first time, I went to 4 banks when I started. I wanted 100 grand. Back then you could do an unsecured line, which is crazy. They don't do it today. I had 3 literally laugh at me. Laughed at me. You had my little shoebox. I had all my little business plan. And I said, here you go. And I dropped them off, and they called back and they said, is this a joke? You have no money. I said, no, that's what I need from you, is money.
I need the money. Exactly. That's what I'm here, because I need money.
So I was at my son's soccer game, and I said, I hate you bankers. I just want you to know that. And the guy was like, whoa, dude, what? I said, I need $100,000. He said, bring me your shoebox. And because I know you, I'll see what I can tell you. I got my first $100,000. Now, as I started making money, Every banker wanted to be my friend.
Now they all.
Every bank. Oh, hi, Lee. Are you still invested? Not with you. So they helped me do what I needed to do. Is it easy? No. If you see any of these fly-by-night Fruit Loops out there, that's bull.
Let me ask you, because I see a lot of, and we see it all over the internet right now and everything, a lot of, how do they call it, creative financing terms and all this stuff. And I don't want someone coming and want to break my leg because I can make a payment afterwards. And it's
look, no, those they may work. I'm not saying they don't work. Okay, there are different real estate associations out there that do creative stuff. I'm a very simple person when it comes to investing. If it makes financial sense to me, it's worth it. I don't think you have to go to a loan shark. Number one, if you're going to go to a loan shark, don't do it. Okay. Just save your money. Just save your money. If you don't have the equity in your home, just save. There are programs out there that you can do with reputable people.
Okay.
Yes, you may pay a % higher interest rate, maybe 2. But if it cash flows, it's worth doing.
It's worth doing.
Okay? There's still some owner financing out there. When I sell my properties later in life, I will probably owner finance them. I don't want the capital gain coming to me because I just decided to sell. So you can find those, and that's what Carlos can help you do. He can ask the question. It's one of my first, in commercial especially, it's my first question. Would you consider owner financing instead of renting it? I did one in Knoxville, Tennessee that way. Beautiful building.
I was going to ask you about that because I remember because I was with you having lunch when you were negotiating that deal. And I was going to ask you about commercial loans.
Commercial is a different beast. It can be a lucrative beast. Because I was in real estate forever residentially, always felt more comfortable in the residential realm. But you can build wealth in the commercial realm.
Okay.
But start residential. Go to a multifamily, then you can go to apartment buildings, and then you're on your way to being rich. I mean, I've seen guys do apartment buildings that cash flow to the point where I want them to adopt me. But make sure you cash flow. Okay. Never throw money into something that I know you can get $500 more a month. Well, yeah, if I put $100,000 into a kid's playhouse, I could probably,
Yeah.
So be smart about your investment because you don't want to get caught out on.
Well, especially if you're using your equity line, your primary home, like you don't want to.
Your spouse may kill you.
Yeah,
it's correct. And I know when I started that, I don't have to do it now, thank goodness. But Laura was worried until I got that money put back, and I would have to say I would do an IOU to Laura that I was going to pay that off within, and we did. We did. We got good deals. The best deal you're going to get in the beginning, if that makes sense. You're going to make your money in purchasing it. And that's where a professional like Carlos can do that. Okay? Let him find you the deal. Explore the deal. That's where you're going to make, in your negotiation, and that's where his negotiation skills, and he's very good at it. That's where he's going to make you the most money.
Because I see some people now also that are selling, like I just saw someone had an Airbnb, a working Airbnb for sale, $370,000, I don't know. And they said, well, it cash flows already this much money. And when I see it that way, but you're buying it at this price up here, or actually higher than what I thought was the market value for the property because it's cash flowing. But I don't know. In my opinion, I've always said, no one's going to sell a good business unless you're retiring at that point, I guess. Or
well, here's the deal: somebody's going to sell you their headaches a lot of times. So know that, especially in the investment group. I mean, usually is the way it's going to be. Here's the thing too that I think that you need to set a parameter. For me, and I'm weird about what I do. I typically will say I like a street. Say I like Augusta Road. Some of those I love it. So what I do in my investment portfolio is I buy homes that are in the city. I love 1920 style. Yeah. I think this building is 1925, as a matter of fact. I love that era, that arts and crafts scene.
They're solid houses.
They're solid. Well, and they've got the charm. Okay, I've got some 1960s brick ranchers that you yawn as you go by. I'm dumping some of those now. I don't want them. But that curb appeal will appeal to a regular tenant and to a Airbnb tenant.
Okay.
Okay. So I also have weird things. I like buying corners.
Okay.
And I usually buy the neighbor. I know that's weird. I know it's weird. But if you look, as you see my portfolio, I always own next door. I almost had a whole street one time, and I have sold those, but I got one left in the.
Well, if you have something good going on, why not? Like,
well, that way you can control your neighbor.
Yeah.
I know who the neighbor is. I put them there. So you don't have people raising Cain and stuff because I own the whole street.
Yeah.
So find what your passion is, because what you like I like the 1920s, you're gonna love. If you love something you're doing and where you're doing it, you're gonna do it well. So that's the way.
Yeah, we have that our first home actually, which is not an Airbnb, and I think I was with you when I bought it already. And I remember that was built in 1931. That little house, my wife loved it because of the charm, and it's an Airbnb now, and everyone loves it because it has that charm.
It's that charm, that character, that.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing. I'm not knocking 1960s brick ranchers. I'm really not. They're just my least favorite.
I do have a 1960s brick ranch also, Airbnb as well, but we did it different. The one thing I gotta say about those brick ranches though, you can play around with them. We opened walls, we redid everything, the brick outside, you can play with that. But I agree with you, they're the most boring,
And what you want to do, it's just you want to cutesy them up. I know one of our agents who started with about when Carlos did, she's doing the same thing. And the inside of this property was really cute. The outside was, but she's going to bring the roof out a little bit, create some outside working space, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
So that can be done. But know your costs before you dive into projects.
Yes.
You got X number for the house, and you got all this for the rest.
Well,
and understand, raise that by about 20-25% because you're always going to go over.
You're always going to go over. And there's some people think that, especially let's talk about long-term lease, that the more expensive the house, the more money they're going to make. But at some point it caps, it gets to the point where, you're paying $100,000 more, but you're going to make $150 more a month. It doesn't, at that point, you might as well buy another property.
Well, at that point, when people are paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, I don't care. I mean, $1 million house typically is going to get close to the same thing as a $600,000 house. So the gains aren't there. That's why I said, look at your cap rates, make sure the numbers run before you make the offer.
And if you're using it for short-term rentals, since it's popular right now, Airbnb, VRBO, all these places, make sure, talk to someone about HOA regulations, city regulations. There's a lot going on. And that's why I think I agree with you. You gotta buy worst case scenario. So am I gonna cash flow doing a long-term lease? Because, well, no, but I'm gonna make this much money Airbnb. Well, what if the city
never count on?
You can't do the Airbnb anymore.
No, never count on that. Because I'll tell you, I'll give you an example on how owning long-term real estate works or rentals work. I used to beg them to pay me. I had little one bedrooms, and the guy said, "You're going to always have people want one bedrooms."
Yep.
So I used to beg people $350 a month. Woo! And I could barely make my mortgage. I had 6 of them, little sixplex. Now, today, those go for $995 a month. So if you hold, as the rental market's very strong for long term. So those, they don't all have to be vacation rentals. And you want to mix them up anyway. Single family, multifamily, vacation, long term. And that helps you it's just like a well-rounded portfolio in stocks. You're doing the same thing for investment property.
Well, and another thing, I have, one of my clients who buys a lot of investment, and he sold his whole portfolio in New York, moved it here, and he focused a lot of new investors, they focus on, I gotta make at least $500 a month cash flow of this property. You're not gonna find investments like that. A lot of it is not how much money you're making in the moment. The way he sees it is, okay, I'm accumulating this portfolio.
Correct.
10 years from now each property has this, and that's what he did in New York. Now I either sell the whole portfolio to, a younger person, investors, or house by house, but that's where he makes his money once, so he's looking at long term, not just.
I never look at short term for investment like that. I really don't. If you're going to do that, just go ahead and be a flipper. And as long as you figure in your capital gains and stuff, that works for you. And that's certainly a way to make money. It's not been the way I make money.
Yeah, well, in flipping, it's a whole other world right now, a whole other conversation. There's a lot going on right now. The market the way it is, you can't find the deals you used to find 3 years ago.
That scares me.
And people are overpaying. And then I actually see people who are buying properties for flips. They put money into it. They can't sell it because they're way too into it, too high, and they have to turn it into rentals.
Correct.
Yeah,
and I see that all the time. And we've seen it for years.
Which is fine if you have the money to do it, but if you're taking money, a lot of them take hard money for that. Mm-hmm. Which I'm not a big fan of hard money.
It's expensive.
Yeah, but if you do it, then you're in a pickle at that point.
Correct.
Yeah. So
use your head and use the expertise of an agent.
And I know there's a lot of programs out there, and I'll have we'll have a lender. Maybe next episode talk about those DCLR loans, all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of programs now where they help investors. Like
Well, when you become successful, every banker in the world will want to be your friend.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you. So. And you get preferred rates. You get the red carpet rolled out.
So are you still working with the same lender?
Yes.
The one that...
But not the first one. Okay. Well, his bank sold.
Okay.
I was going to dump his bank. And the president called me and said, we will beat what they did for you and more. So I get special rates and everything. So make friends with the right people, top brass in the banks.
And you started from scratch. Right?
Had zero.
Like
had no money.
Yeah.
Well,
that's great. That's admirable. Well, yeah. So thank you guys. And again, Lee, I'll probably have Lee in another episode. He has so much knowledge to share, and we'll see you guys later. Carlos Handel again and Lee Lienhardt.
So have a great day. Guys. Take care.